Hedgeley Swordsman here. I thought I'd just do a video on the latest news out of Novo, and because I'm going away for Christmas vacation tomorrow, so this was basically my best shot of getting something out before the holidays. First of all, just as a overall view of this news release, I mean, to me it's success at all fronts that they're working on right now. Exploration at Egina, finding a method to do indicative mini bulk sampling, which will of course help out. They're going full steam ahead at Egina, which kind of tells you where what I think is the low-hanging fruit at the moment and what's worth pursuing. 2 large, circa 600 cubic meter bulk samples were recently collected from the targeted swale. So this is where the more nuggety gold would be present, I guess. And the relationship with Aboriginals seems to be on point. They have been completing some heritage survey areas, and I mean, cumulative, these are, 20 square kilometers or whatever. I might even be mentioned in the 20 square kilometers, which is of course good. I mean, that's quite a patch of land already, and perhaps even more importantly, they tested the Egina gravels, and they tested it at the Steinart Global Test Facility in Perth, which I visited while I was down there, and saw firsthand that when the machine was able to pick up pinhead and below sized gold particles on the belt, that was of course in a lab environment where there was no gravels involved. But so I mean, that in itself is obviously incredibly fascinating to see. And here they tested with gold in actual gravels, Egina gravels, and they screened it into 3 different particle sizes. And of course, this is the thing that in a real life mining scenario, they might have different sorters that are configured and whatnot to have the best, detection and processing speed suited for each class of particle sizes. And lo and behold, 100% recovery of all gold particles over 1 millimeter. I mean, that's 100% recovery. I mean, sure, this is still in a lab environment, but I mean, how much does gravel change? I don't think it changes that much. If it can detect this gold, then it should be able to detect all similar, gravels with similar gold particles in anything basically above 1 millimeter, up to 50 millimeters, I guess. But I mean, this is the thing that some might look at this and like, yeah, okay, a small sample or whatever. But I mean, this is just mechanical sorting. There's no if you see conventional recoveries and stuff, I mean, a lot can change in a vein or whatever. Some might be transitional or oxide or whatever, that the gold is within some other element or whatever, or encapsulated by it, or what have you. I mean, that's not the case for Egina. The gold is concentrated in nuggets. It's not, except for some, I guess, conglomerate matrix that might be found, from the original source. Otherwise, I mean, the gold is just tied to the gold is just tied to the gold. So I have no reason to believe that this kind of results wouldn't be, pretty close to all gravels that share these similarities. 100% recovery. That's not 99. That's 100% recovery. And as I say here, assessment of recovery over small gold particles of less than 1 millimeter must be made by analytic means, as these grains are too small to separate from concentrate by naked eye. And keep this in mind. This is the first test. And not only that, I mean, they're going to test this with TAMRA as well. So, I mean, this is quite the bar to set on the first try. 100% recovery. Obviously, you can't get over 100% recovery. So to have this as, a floor, and then try to, tackle the, sub 1 millimeter stuff. And that might, work as well. And in that case, it's like, this is the stuff that I picked up in the mini bulk samples. And this is 1 millimeter, okay? So basically, probably everything here would be, 100% recovered. Not as sure with this, because there's even finer than that. I mean, this one here is below 1 millimeter, obviously. Easily recoverable. So I mean, how many operations can you think of that would, have 100% recoveries, especially everything above 1 millimeter? And as Quinton has said, that it looks like, 95% or something is looks to be above 1 millimeter. I think you'd have to go back and double check that, so don't quote me on that. But I mean, this is just getting crazier and crazier, and these are the first areas they went out and did some actual trenching, and not only did they find these lag gravels, they were gold bearing as well. And that's quite interesting, because this is basically the slide, or the view I showed a few months ago, where I talked about, okay, I'm interested in this blob because this is ferrous iron index readings, and I mean, the theory being that, okay, if this is a hotspot for accumulation of iron, which is heavy, what is heavier than iron? Gold. So if heavy iron would accumulate in these hotspots, looks kind of likely that gold would be, possibly ending up in these areas as well. Okay, so where did they do heritage surveys? Okay, basically they did it in northern parts, southwestern parts, and southeastern parts. So I mean, that's kind of good to see, because that would, they would be testing basically the fringes of the central edging area. I mean, we get loads of more area. We get more of the gray land that stretches, 1,000 square kilometers up here, and we have even more land closer to the coast. And according to people that were present at the AGM, I mean, they picked up even more ground, which is something that you obviously wouldn't do if the efforts, basically what they've been doing so far didn't show promise in terms of lag gravel prospectivity, because there would be no point in picking up and spending more money on claims if if the things they're doing now didn't show promise. So obviously that's just in terms of signal value. Obviously their confidence in the Egina type lag gravels have gone up, and again, it's pretty interesting that it seems to be clustering in this area, and lo and behold, I mean, that's this big tenement here, and this is where we have this big blob, and the Paradise prospect is basically here. And what are these yellow dots? Those are lode gold prospects belonging to the gray. So I mean, first of all, I mean, some of these lodes probably have been eroded down a few tens of meters at least. So there's probably some enrichment from lode golds like Blue Moon here, where they found those amazing lode gold specimens just lying in the gravel. So I mean, if that happened here, I mean, the lode gold that's outcropping around here, I mean, that also had to go somewhere. So that might have eroded down into this area where there looks to be a lot of iron. So maybe this was basically a I don't know, I wouldn't say that it's one big swale or whatever, but this image kind of suggests that this area might have accumulated a lot of heavy materials, including iron obviously, but I hope to that gold did as well. So I'm very interested in how this plays out, and as they write here, I mean, these are the very first new target areas, have confirmed the presence of gold bearing gravel. So that's 100% hit rate so far. Tested two areas, 2 kilometers south and 14 kilometers north of Egina. So we know there's gravel here. This is where we have had this 600 meter trench and whatnot, and large bulk samples. Some people thought that these gravels would be localized. And then why is it up here in the same unit and here in the same unit, and why are there scrapings, which I've showed in other videos, down here all the way, basically all the way to basically all the way to this area. So I mean, we know there's scraping all over the central Egina area, and they've tested two new prospects and found gold bearing lag gravels. And what's the characteristics of the gold? Pretty small. This is around 1 millimeter basically. Also a bunch of 1 millimeter and some sub 1 millimeter. This is a bit larger, but I mean, if you're finding this kind of stuff, I mean, this looks to be the disseminated halo gold, if you know what I mean, the background gold level that graded 0.3 grams per cubic meter over at the Egina mining lease corner, the northeastern corner, and 0.3 grams per cubic meter is very good from a global average standpoint in terms of alluvial deposits. And that's the possibly most interesting thing, that if this is indeed, if this stuff is present as a background value all across the flats or the basically the terraces, that opens up a huge bulk mining scenario. But that's, since some of it is sub 1 millimeter, that might need to be processed in a different way. I'm not totally sure on this, because I also think that Quinton said that somewhere around, I don't know, 95% or even more than that is basically gold in the form of 1 millimeter and above in terms of particle size. And the first test suggested that demonstrate effective 100% recovery of all gold particles over 1 millimeter size into concentrates. So the first ever, again, trial test suggests 100% recovery of gold particles above 1 millimeter. And if, say, 95 plus is above 1 millimeter, that could open up, you get my point, a very high recovery number for the Egina lag gravels. So yeah, basically this is the best kind of news we could have gotten so far. 100% hit rate so far in the trenching and bulk sampling department. Not only that, but it's all over here, and on the other side of the more hilly parts of the Egina mining lease. So not only is it present there, but it's also on a mining lease. Second of all, that they've been able to develop a methodology to test the lag gravels, and again, if they're able to, or if there's a presence of this fine grade halo in broader areas, I mean, and this could be economically recoverable. I mean, they could de-risk areas very quickly, assuming they, are allowed to do it and do the heritage survey thing. But already, I mean, 20 square kilometers, that's good for a pretty, good production profile already. And 2 large 600 cubic meter bulk samples are on the way, and these are in the targeted swale. This would be the, I guess, higher grade, coarser gold areas, since it's again in the actual swales. Aboriginal cooperation and Aboriginal relationship seems to be on point. And the recoveries are, I mean, you can't beat this. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Tomra comes up with, and if these guys, Steinert or Tomra, are able to push down the detection limits, that even most of the small percentage of sub 1 millimeter gold would be detected. I mean, then it becomes really interesting, and given that the processing costs are almost for free, that opens up a scary scenario, basically, because in that case, who knows how much of this could actually be mined at a profit. And green mining, I mean, no chemicals and whatnot. I mean, we're not there yet, but so far the information is, I mean, as good as we hoped. And there's also one or a few interesting things. Eurasian, who was present at the AGM. I mean, you can read this for yourself. He listed 16 points of basically, main takeaways. It's too much to go over now. You can go over this for yourselves. But it's okay, kind of interesting. I'm just looking at the thumbs up here. 27 for once we are a producer, expect a move to a big board TSX or Nasdaq. Those already had discussions with both and are waiting for right time to move. I mean, that's kind of interesting because that's the post that got the most upvotes, and at the same time that's the only post that doesn't have anything to do with fundamentals. So I don't know. It's not what I it's not what I would have, put as the highest priority, since I'm kind of agnostic about the share price, because if they can go into production themselves, then would become a dividend payer and a super growth producer, then I don't really care where they're listed, because then I wouldn't be interested in share appreciation really. I would just mostly be interested in yield. So that's, again, it's just interesting, and I would put this post basically at the bottom of the list, I think. So maybe I'm even a contrarian within the contrarian Novo flock. And this one, acquired new gravels. I want them to, do their thing in peace and quiet, but it's obviously a signal that the lag gravels are producing the results they were hoping for, because we already got over 2,000 square kilometers. If you're going after more than that, you better have a very good reason for it. Basically much more news coming. Full sorting results in Q. I think 2020 might be the real coming out party for the Pilbara. Where's that post? Here. Expect trial mining at Edgenode, a surface miner, and several sorters by mid-year 2020. If successful, just continue on to mining. At that point, it's gonna be kind of hard to, if they deliver on this. Then the bashers are running out of straws to grasp. And one other interesting thing. There's a new presentation up from the AGM. This one's kind of interesting. Okay, nice. King Midas himself. Brinks truck. Gold. And whammy. How beautiful is this? And judging by the serial number, I guess they expect to possibly produce a few gold bars, if you know what I mean. And I especially like this edgy natural nuggets. That's obviously a tip of the hat to, or at least in my mind, to the fact that first of all, it's a pretty cool thing that you're making gold out of gold nuggets and natural nuggets. That kind of have an association to green mining in my view, and I know Bob talked about the fact that if we're going into a world where climate alarmism and stuff like that is active, okay, what would be more ethical than mining gold? Basically, at surface, no chemicals, barely any water, barely any vegetation, and you just put the dirt back right after you mined it. So the the topsoil can go right back to growing stuff again. That's the thing with Novo. It's just so many angles that are so interesting and especially unique. And again, basically all this is just about Egina. And remember, that's the funny part. Egina wasn't even on the map up until, I don't know, 1.5 years ago. So Novo ran to $8.8 or whatever, and nobody even knew about Egina. And now Egina might be the actual crown jewel, not that it has to have the highest grade, that I don't know about. I mean, nothing is set in stone yet, but it obviously looks to be the most easily recoverable gold out there. No blasting, no drilling, no crushing. Just dig some dirt, shove it into a mechanical sorter, and spit out the gold, and turn it into a bar. That must be the, I don't know, simplest mining operation ever. And if it's simple, it should be cheap. If it's cheap, it should be high margin. If it's high margin, or could possibly talk dividends. And by the looks of it, it doesn't look like the gold bearing gravels will run out anytime soon. So I think Egina might be a company maker in itself, and I'm not talking 100%. I'm talking, imagine if you would do, let's say there's 34,000 ounces per square kilometer, and they mine 10 per year. 340,000 ounces. And let's say it's high margin, and let's do let's say it's high margin, but let's say it's $700 US in basically operational profits. That's $238 million US if they would be mining 10 square kilometers. This is obviously forward-looking and hypothetical, but okay, let's do multiply it by 10 to have a market cap per free cash flow or whatever. 2.30 or $2.38 billion, and I think there's no way that it would only be a multiplier of 10, because there's already $2.5 billion market cap companies out there that have operating profits of 60 million or whatever. So I think this is lowballing it. And what if they mine 20 square kilometers per year? What if Beaton's Creek gets up and running? What if Commonwealth gets up and running? What if they start mining the gray area? What if they start mining the areas closer to the coast? What if they start mining, Virgin Creek, Contact Creek? What if we get a mill? What if we prove up ounces at Talga, more ounces, and Blue Spec? What if we find a dozen more prospects in the coming years? You get the point that Novo might become the, ultimate growth stock in the gold mining space. There's not a single company that I know of that has this kind of growth potential. Because most juniors, they're working on one deposit. Sure, they can possibly triple that resource, but they can't triple the amount of mines or prospects in a year or whatever. So that's the scary thing, and that's I think the main point that people are missing. They look at this in a conventional way. If they make something work, if they make Egina work, I mean, there's going to be a bunch of Eginas around the Pilbara, in my opinion. I think so. If Commonwealth and Purdey's reward work, I mean, we already know that there's gold-bearing Mount Roe in every corner of the Pilbara, and that's a 600 by 300 kilometer basin. So of course there are going to be other Commonwealths out there. I mean, who knows? Commonwealth might be the, crappy deposit of the Mount Roe prospects. Who knows? It's certainly not the best or the worst. And I doubt Egina is the best or the worst lag gravel prospects. It's just that it's within the mining lease that, basically one of the two mining leases we have, and where the ground was disturbed. So we were allowed to do some, ground disturbing activity. Who knows how good this is, or paradise, or whatever. So I mean, it's still open-ended, and we've just been, constrained to the areas that we were allowed to work. So I don't know. I still think that, I mean, if we're talking long term, I mean, Novo is my no-brainer, because if there are a lot of stocks that if Blue Sky materializes, it would matter a lot to shareholders, but I don't think any of them compare to what the Blue Sky for Novo would be like, because, as I probably said a bunch of times, my Blue Sky case for Novo is to become a dividend payer and just keep growing. How many mines can you fit in this picture? How many mines can you fit within the overall Novo land holding, which is like 12,000 square kilometers? Now I think we will shed some of the down dip parts of the basin, but they've already mapped like 1,000 kilometers of unconformities, and those are the prospective areas for conglomerate gold. So what if 5% of that is mineable? What if 20% of that is mineable on top of Egina? Then they would have a portfolio projects that would be probably surpass any gold miner on earth. I mean, that will obviously take time, but just go back and look at the company presentation for Novo, where they map all the prospects. I mean, I can't even comprehend the Blue Sky of Novo, so I'm pretty sure that most who don't even understand Novo has no friggin' clue what or how to think about Novo. I mean, they stake 12,000 kilometers for a reason, and these are sheet-like deposits. So I mean, go figure. Commonwealth, for example, if 1 square kilometer is like, I don't know, I don't remember the amount, the estimation that Quinton had. It's like, I think it's like 350 to 700,000 ounces or something in gold endowment per square kilometer. I mean, hypothetical. So I mean, let's say 2 square kilometers of Mount Roe conglomerates is a decent mine. 2 square kilometers. How many prospective square kilometers do we have? How many can say that, we have potential for 50 mines or whatever? That's only limited to the Witwatersrand, and Witwatersrand at one point apparently produced 20 million ounces a year. I mean, that's obviously many times even the Newmonts and Barricks of the world. But that kind of Blue Sky will take many years to play out. But at the same time, we don't need that kind of success tomorrow, because we're not pricing in anywhere near that. So it's all good. It just means that there's a hell of a lot of room to grow, and If either of these prospects work, I think they could be company makers, and the ore sorting won't stop. It will just get better and better. And if Egina becomes what I hope, I think we will have a real shot of seeing some actual dividends within 5 years. But I'm not a geologist nor a mining engineer. NVO is my largest position, and they are also a banner sponsor of my site, so I might be biased. Make up your own minds, as always. Read up and draw your own conclusions. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Horseman out.